Falcons Central Radio on the Pro Football Central Radio Network. I am one of your hosts, Aaron Freeman, joined as usual by Scott Karasik, my co-host. Today we are continuing our NFC South off-season recap series with none other than Greg Barber at IntenseGB on Twitter. Welcome to the show, Greg. How are you doing this evening?
Thank you very much for inviting me on. I'm doing good, and hopefully you guys are doing well.
Well, we go back with Greg pretty far. Had a lot of debates. I'm sure at some point on tonight's episode, him and Scott will get into a 20-minute debate about Marcus Davenport or something like that. And I'll just sit here and twiddle my thumbs and wait till it's over. But we will talk about the Saints offseason, their draft, their free agency, sort of what their outlook is this season, whether or not they can repeat as the NFC South champs and be the only team other than the Panthers to do so in the last 15 years. And we'll also touch upon a little bit at first, though, the Falcons' most recent roster moves, as we often do at the top of the show. In the past 2 weeks since we last came at you and talked Bucs draft, the Falcons did sign a fullback in the name of Ricky Ortiz, formerly of the Baltimore Ravens. He was an undrafted free agent out of Oregon State there, played some linebacker, played some fullback, played some tight end there. I guess, Scott, the question is, do you feel like this signing is an indicator that the Falcons weren't necessarily thrilled with their undrafted rookie fullbacks coming out of rookie minicamp, and does that give Ricky Ortiz a leg up to be sort of the front runner to win that vacated fullback spot?
I mean, I don't really know. I mean, is Ortiz really that good? Is he really that much better than the other guys? I don't think so. I think he's just a guy. So at this point, I mean, it's one of those signings that it is what it is. It's a camp body that was brought in and may or may not be worth it.
Okay. Well, Greg, I won't bore you with fullback conversations here.
It's okay. Saints use fullbacks too, so we get
it. One of them that you guys get. Maybe we'll talk about him later. I thought the Falcons might pursue this offseason, Zach Line. That was not the case. So the Falcons are trying to make do with their fullback position. I do think Ortiz will probably be the front runner. I think he's a little bit better than some of these other guys, but obviously it's not as if he's a proven candidate. And we'll see sort of what training camp bears out later this summer.
I mean, me personally, I did like Zach Line myself. I thought he was a pretty nice addition to the team. So you definitely wouldn't have been bad going after him, because it could have made some sense for you if that's what you needed.
Yep. Unfortunately, he'll be in New Orleans this year. And speaking of New Orleans, let's jump into the Saints draft. They winding up with 7 players. Their top pick, the big name in this draft, is none other than the edge rusher Marcus Davenport out of Texas San Antonio. They traded up about 13 spots in the first round to get him, pick 14. They came back a little bit later in round 3 because they didn't have a second round pick because they traded that last year to move up to get Alvin Kamara. I'm sure that they're not too concerned about losing that pick, given the trade-off. In round 3, they got a wide receiver in Traquan Smith out of Central Florida. Round 4, they went in and got their swing tackle, presumably, and Rick Leonard, a Florida State offensive tackle. I know he was on the Falcons' radar. The 5th round pick, they got DB Natrell Jamerson, who played safety at Wisconsin, might play cornerback, I've heard, in New Orleans. They're looking at him.
More of a nickel.
Right. I kind of think the same thing, because I don't think he's an outside corner. I think he's in somewhere he's going to be at nickel, or he's going to be like a safety, maybe backup free safety or something like that. That's what I'm thinking. That's where he's going to be in those areas.
I'm thinking he's like hey, they've got a really good tight end. Let's just throw Jamerson on that tight end. Yeah. I think that's his role. Because that's what he did really well in college. He man-to-man on tight ends really well.
And in the 6th round, they double-dipped again on the defensive backfield, getting another DB, Cameron Moore, who could play some corner. They talked about him playing maybe some nickel, maybe some safety as well. They wrapped up the 6th round with a running back in Boston Scott out of Louisiana Tech. I know he was another guy that the Falcons worked out, so he was on their radar, sort of a smaller guy. I'm sure Greg, has probably heard or maybe even possibly made Darren Sproles comparisons, because basically anytime there's a short running back that plays for the Saints, he's automatically going to be compared to Darren Sproles.
Yeah, I think. I mean, he's probably. I don't know if he has the same exact skill set as Sproles, but he can do some of the same things, catch a few passes and things like that. But I think that, especially now with Mark Ingram with suspended, he actually kind of comes into play. And then number two, I thought that with the Boston Scott pickup, when the Saints lost, when we lost Kamara early in the game against Atlanta, probably somebody with Boston Scott skills, being able to be thrown out being able to catch passes out the backfield and things like that. He could have kind of took some of that role, because they kind of lost that. They lost it when they had him. They lost a big part of their playbook when Kamara goes out. So to me, I think that they kind of sort of a little bit of insurance policy if something like that happens.
Okay. And they wrapped up their draft in the 7th round, getting presumably their Max Unger heir apparent in the center/guard out of LSU in Will Clapp. Let's circle back and let's talk about Davenport. As you said, this is really sort of the signature pick of this draft. They gave up next year's number 1 pick to go up and get him. They also gave up a 5th round pick, which sort of is inconsequential at this point. But really sort of the Saints really looking at that defense, and they're making a pretty big leap from what has been a pretty bad defense the last several years to being one of the better units in the league last year. It did seem like the one weakness in that group in particular was their pass rush, not having another guy opposite Cameron Jordan that could really put pressure. Now, when you played as well as Cameron Jordan did a year ago, when he was arguably a candidate to be Defensive Player of the Year, you didn't necessarily need that, but certainly you're not necessarily expecting him to pick up or exactly play at that level every single year. And if he doesn't, then you need someone else to pick up the slack. So I'm curious, Greg, what were your thoughts on the sort of Davenport pick, and were you a little concerned, as I'm sure most Falcon fans looked at it and said, oh, why would you give up a future first-round pick for a raw guy like Marcus Davenport? Where do you fall on that sort of fence?
Well, for me, I didn't have a problem with that pick. For one, last year Okafor was playing pretty decent on that end, on the other edge. He actually was probably a lot better than what we've had on that other side of Jordan. But then he got hurt, and then it kind of fell off a little bit on the edge. I think bringing up Davenport, I look at it as I think they're thinking, when you go to Houston, you look at J.J. Watt and you're looking at Clowney. You're looking at Ingram and Bosa. You really do need 2 fire breathers on the edge these days. They kind of really help. And I think that's where the kind of sense of it makes to make that jump. Number 2, let's say if Jordan gets hurt, you need to at least have one of those somebody who can significantly pass rush. See, I always look at it to a point like what ifs, and I'm looking at the depth of it and those type of things. I'm not looking at just another starter. So I look at it. I'm okay with them giving up the draft picks, because if you think about it, especially with the first round pick, if this turns out very well, this might be just really it's only a first round pick in name only. Because if it's not a very deep draft next year, then that pick is really going to be almost like a second round pick, technically. Especially it might be a lower round pick anyway, 28, 29, 32 is what you're hoping. So then it won't be that big of a deal to lose a 32nd first round pick to me. Or so for me, I thought the pick was good. I thought it was really good. If Davenport turns out to be what they think he's going to be, and I think he will, I think all signs seems to be pointing that way, then I think it's worth it.
I guess I'm the one who's like, you know what? He's not worth it. I liked Marcus Davenport, but I liked him at the end of the first round as a developmental guy. Let him be that rotational guy his first, second year.
Right.
And then eventually he'll be a 10 to 12 sack guy regularly.
Right.
I didn't even see him as attack McKinley, like what McKinley's probably going to be this year. Right. Until his 3rd year. So Davenport, he's got the talent. He's got the raw talent. But is he worth giving up 2 first-round picks? To me, that's a no. That's just a big no.
Well, you're not really giving up. You're switching picks for one, and then on the first round pick, and the other one you are giving up. The number two is that I don't know if they didn't feel like they had significant enough holes that they needed to stay where they were to keep every pick. You know what I'm saying? So I think that they looked at it as why not if we can make the move. Let's see if we and see if it turns out. I get it. Some people think that it's too much or whatever, but I think this is more of those time will tell type picks. Because in the long run, who knows? By the end of the year, we might look at it as being, okay, nobody think anything of it.
Yeah.
Now, and then if he turns around to be a bust, now, people might look at it differently then. But for myself, sometimes you got to roll the dice, even if it seems like it's a little big. You got to roll the dice because sometimes you can't play it safe. And number two, if you think about it, especially in the NFC, it is so freaking deep there right now. You got the Rams. You got the Eagles. Now you got the whole NFC South alone, just the three of us, just between us, the Panthers, and the Falcons. That is a fight within itself. That's a pure six brawl every day.
I guess for me, I don't get I get the Rams are supposed to be super, really fucking good,
right.
But
right.
I still see a lot of holes on that team.
I'm with you. I do too, and I see, and we don't know if the chemistry is going to even fit in either, because we don't know. See, so because you got some dynamites in there, you got some stick.
They're linebackers, and I know people are like, well, linebackers aren't that important.
No,
they are the most important people on the field, as Saints fans will tell you, because the Saints have some shit linebackers even this year. Anzalone's decent, but Davis not good. Klein,
yeah.
I mean, and you're not disagreeing with me because it's right. Anzalone, that's if Anzalone's healthy.
Right, and that's the biggest thing with him is that he got to stay healthy. Then with the other linebackers, I think they can play. It's really going to be a heavy team effort for those linebackers to play as well. They're not studs. You know what I'm saying? They're not high end studs, right? They're not stud linebackers. That was the one thing that I would have loved to see them do was to get one of those a good top end stud linebacker, at least one up in that bunch for now. But at the same time, I don't think they are as bad as I don't think they're crap, but I think that they're not quite at that level either. They're not high end linebackers that if you're going to scare anybody. But I think they can play solid enough to kind of keep the defense going. I
agree there.
Huh?
Yeah, I agree there.
Yeah. I
think they'd be lucky to get basically Falcons 2005 level linebacker play, which is like average NFL linebacker. It was the same guys they had in 14. The same exact guys they had in 14, but in 15 they were like, all right, well we're playing decent. We're not playing like shit because we're not under Mike Smith anymore. So I think that's about what you're looking to get.
I think they're a little bit better than. I think they'll be a little bit above average. Like I said, I'm not looking stellar play. I'm not looking all pros at this point. Anzalone could be if he stay healthy. I think he got a lot of potential. He still got a lot to learn, but he's got a lot of potential. The other ones, like I said, the
other ones are bad.
Yeah, the other ones we'll see where they go. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, they got Nate Stupar, who is the greatest linebacker of all time. And
I'm not sure if he's going to make the team. That's the only thing. I wonder if he's going to even make the team.
Well, if he doesn't make the team, the Falcons better get him back.
He's versatile. Don't get me wrong. But I get what you're saying. Nobody's going to be scared of their linebackers. It's really going to come down to me their defensive line and their backfield. It's going to be kind of the difference for them. It's really.
Yeah, I think their linebackers are okay. I think getting Demario Davis this offseason was a good move for them, just given they just needed more speed at that group. And so, I think, the Saints' defense, I think, is by and large good when they can rush the quarterback and they have a good secondary. So I don't think they really need a world-class linebacker to make that defense work as we saw last year.
But they
also don't have the secondary to make that work either, because when Ken Crawley is starting for you, you have a couple of holes.
I'm with you. Lattimore, you got on one side. Crawley played pretty solid last year. He played decent, but at the same time, would I like to upgrade at that position? Yeah, I would have loved to see him get better. To get better, I mean, I think that you can find another stud cornerback at that position. I
And
don't think Crawley's
and
that.
can I be honest with you?
Yeah,
Lattimore's good, but he is a very grabby cornerback.
he's
He is a
oh,
lot like Robert Alford's first 2 years, where he was getting away with a lot of stuff. And then years 3, years 4, years 5, it started getting called because receivers were like, "No, fuck this shit. He's grabbing me every single play."
right.
Eventually, you're going to get 2, 3 penalties
Well,
a game that way.
right, and
So
the
he's got to get that under control.
I agree with
Because
you there.
he fucking tackled Julio and was lucky that wasn't a defensive pass interference.
Yeah, but you also too sometimes it depends on if the ref gonna let you play or not. And so sometimes the guy, don't get me wrong, because I've seen the Falcons.
Just saying that second game was.
But I've seen the Falcons do the same stuff.
And that's fine. But if they don't call it both ways, it's different. That second game,
I know
they were calling it on Atlanta. They weren't calling it on the Saints, and I was like, "What the fuck is going on?"
But in the first game, they were doing the same thing. It was kind of vice versa.
I watched that first game, and
me too. I watched both games.
The stuff that they weren't calling was going both ways. Because Lattimore threw Julio on his pick too, grabbed the shit out of him, pushed him out the way on his pick.
But overall, when it comes down, I think a lot of times the refs tend to let that game play a little bit because it is, it's a rivalry. So I'm not gonna sit here and have a problem with him grabbing a Julio a little bit because I'm pretty sure every cornerback in the league grabs Julio at some point or another. You're talking number 1, number 2 receiver in the league. Very easy in that one. So you're gonna have a hard time with him. You're not gonna let him get away with everything. I don't care who you are.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with Lattimore. I think he's one of the best young cornerbacks in the league, and if you got to cheat to cover Julio, then you got to cheat to cover Julio.
And he's going to be. I know what Scott's saying. He's got to get that technique down a little bit more, where he's not either one. He can hide it better, or number 2, and nobody see it, or number 2, just that he just end up getting his technique better, where he knows where he's not ever having to grab a guy.
Yeah.
So, but nonetheless, like I said, with the defense, we'll see if they progress or grow a little bit more. I think I think a lot of it comes more in the coaching too with the Saints more than the talent. I think we got a lot when Peyton kind of finally got rid of some of the coaches that he needed to get rid of, especially on defense, and picked up some guys that are actually helping these players play a lot better. And I think that's where it really comes in more the coaching than even the talent itself.
Now, Greg, I'm curious. We're talking about the defense, and obviously Davenport is going to be expected to contribute early. But I'm curious, what are your expectations for guys like Jimerson and Moore? Are you expecting them to basically fill depth roles? You think they're going to play on special teams, or do you think either one of those guys has a legitimate shot to see the field this year?
I almost say it's up to them. I got a feeling that you'll see them special teams for sure, but as far as how much they're going to get in or not, I would like to see what happens in training camp and preseason. And I think you can kind of tell then. It's hard for me to call that one on that. I think they got an opportunity to play because really we're at cornerback, we're kind of thin depth-wise, if you think about it, because other than having Crawley and Lattimore, we really didn't have much else. We brought back Patrick Robinson to play nickel, but then after that, as far as some of the other cornerbacks there, we're not sure. So we don't. So the truth of the matter is they can probably actually come in and end up possibly playing.
I wouldn't be shocked to see Cameron Moore starting over Crawley at some point in the year. And I know it may sound crazy to you, but Moore was a very interesting. He was a very interesting guy for me to watch. As much as I hated the Davenport pick and trading a second, trading that second first-round pick for him, I love the Cameron Moore pick because he's just a very smart cornerback. The only thing that had me kind of low on him was he did suffer some injuries throughout his college career. He didn't run that fast at the combine for what I would want a corner to be, which is 4.5 or less. So those small things that it's like nitpicky stuff in a deep cornerback class.
Right, but for me, I've seen a little film on him and just seeing some of the things that he could do a little bit too. So I'm with you that I could see him starting over Crawley possibly. I don't know exactly right away. Maybe late in the year as he kind of gets acclimated to things. But I don't know. We'll see. Like I said, I think it really comes up to them. It's just what they do in training camp, how quickly they pick up things. And if they do that, I can't see why they would hesitate to put those guys out there a lot more, put them in certain packages. You know, I mean, because I don't think you have to necessarily even have them as a full-time starter, but at least have them come in on certain packages and plays for a while until then. Then next year, maybe talk about them starting.
Yeah, I think I kind of like the Saints secondary. I think Crawley's. I think he's better. I give him more credit than Scott does. Obviously, I think if Robinson can play like the player he's been the last couple of years since he left New Orleans, because he was bad in New Orleans.
Yes,
but he's been one of the better slot cornerbacks in the league the last couple of years since he left there.
Yeah, and I think that's what if they keep him there, they're good.
And PJ Williams, is questionable, but as a depth piece, all he's going to really be asked to play is the backup. And then, I don't know what the situation is with Delvin Breaux at this point. But if they can get some
at this point, I think because of the injuries, I think they just kind of gave up on him.
Okay.
So yeah, they kind of. Well, at least let's say this at this point in time, Breaux hasn't signed with anybody. If I remember right, I know
he's under contract.
Is he with who?
With the Saints. They're the only people that hold his rights.
Well, he was restricted. I think that's what it was.
He was exclusive rights. Was
it okay then? Because I haven't heard about anything about him being in camp. He hasn't been in camp.
Okay.
So I think he's.
From my understanding, he's still he's restricted, but I don't know. It's weird because he played a little bit in Canada, right?
Yeah, he played in Canada. Yes.
So there's different rules for guys who play in Canada versus guys that didn't.
Yeah, because I think he had restricted rights, not exclusive. I think it was like a restricted or something other. But if I remember right, they didn't put a tender on him or something like that.
Oh, yeah. He was not tendered, so he's unrestricted. You're right.
He's unrestricted. Right. That's what I'm saying, because he's not in camp or anything.
Okay.
And they bring him back in, and that probably makes
bring him to Atlanta.
Huh?
Bring him to Atlanta.
I was shocked that kid was not on a team anyway at this point, because I think he had a lot of talent and had a lot of potential. It just, I think, was the injuries, and I don't know if he's recovered. That's the only thing that I wonder that no team has signed him yet, is that he must be still either hurt or doctors are a little iffy on if he's going to be okay.
Yeah, that seems like it's probably the case.
It has to be, because I can't even imagine the Saints would have given up on him if he wasn't iffy. You know what I mean? That I think the Saints would at least even if he signed up to a 1-year prove-it contract and see where he goes.
Yeah.
And that would have made sense, because then you could have used the draft pick for something else.
I mean, I'd rather have him in camp than Marcellus Branch or Leon McFadden, Tyson Graham, or.
I mean, he's a good kid. He can play.
He plays on special teams.
Yeah,
that's big to me.
Well, that's the problem too. That was the thing. The 2 times he got hurt, his neck injury and the injuries he had there, he was on special teams. That's the one thing. That probably is the big problem. You probably don't want to put him on special teams, or he'll get hurt again.
Okay.
So I mean, that I remember both times he was on special teams when he played both of those. So,
I'm curious, sort of looking at some of these other young guys that you have on defense. You think this is going to be the breakout year for guys like Sheldon Rankins, as well as do you feel like Marcus Williams is going to be able to bounce back from sort of the way his season ended?
Yeah, I do think Marcus Williams will. I think he's one of those guys who will probably get better because of it. Because I don't think he don't come off to me as a fragile-minded person. He made a mistake. He'll find a way to get better. Because I mean, overall, that kid played a big part. Like I said, I was sitting there shocked when my mouth hung open when that happened, but I never was angry with him for a second about it. It happens. I mean, stuff like that happens. You're hurt by it because as a fan, you guys know, because you had just shot to beat Philadelphia. Yeah. And you trying to pull that knife out your heart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So we know, we know. So that's the thing. So I'm not going to get angry with him, because I think the kid has so much potential, and to be one of the better, I think, free safeties in the league. I think he can do very well. up there. So me, I think he'll be fine. I don't think he'll be haunted by that. Now, as far as who else did you ask about? Oh, you had asked about
Rankins.
yeah, okay, Rankins. I think so
That
too.
was good.
Yeah, I like Rankins, and I think that he improved each year so far he's played. I think a part of it is to the defensive line coach they got now, Nielsen. I think he's actually definitely helped that defensive line a lot better, become a lot better than what they were before
He's going to
him.
use a coherent rotation because
Mhm.
Rankin should not be playing on the edge. I like Sheldon Rankins,
I agree.
but he should not be playing on the edge. He is
Yeah.
a 3 technique through and
Yeah, he
through.
is.
And I know Aaron will probably agree with that.
Right.
Is that Sheldon Rankins plays in the 3 and he
Yeah.
plays it very well. And
But
we got a guy like Tyler Davidson who can
Yeah.
eat those
Blocks
blocks
up.
on the
Yeah.
inside.
Yeah.
Davidson's a solid. He's not a top 5 or top
No.
10 or top 15 guy,
No.
but he's a guy that you throw in there
Yeah.
and he eats some tackles.
Yeah, he gonna eat up a
and
couple
he eats
blocks.
some linemen and he
Yeah.
just takes some blockers out and he
Mhm.
lets you get that one-on-one matchup.
Yeah.
Like
Another
if you had Tyler Davison next to Grady Jarrett, for me, I'd be happy with it.
Yeah.
If Terrell McClain can play like Tyler Davison this year,
Mhm.
I'll be very happy with it because that means Grady Jarrett's going to have a lot of one-on-ones on the inside. So
Yeah.
Sheldon Rankins and
Mhm.
Tyler Davis inside, rotate Onyemata in the nickel.
Yeah, that's
And
another one I was going to say. That's
And-
another thing you got to watch out is Onyemata because I think
And-
Onyemata he's gonna raise his level
getting
too.
better. He's getting better. I like Onyemata. Now,
Me too.
he's a beast. He's a fucking monster. There's no other way to
Mhm.
describe him. Alex Okafor is starting to finally come into his own.
Yes.
And then you've got Trey Hendrickson as well.
Yes.
And who's got a great athletic profile. So
Mhm.
you've got talent there, a raw talent.
Yes. Agreed.
Then you went out and also got Marcus Davenport, which Davenport is good, but he's not ready. So you've got to have Davenport basically be your 4th guy this year. A lot the same way the Falcons had Vic Beasley be their 4th guy in 2015 behind, Brooks Reed and Schofield, those guys.
Right.
So
yeah, see,
I know it's a little rough to hear like, oh my God, this 1st-round pick. We saw it ourselves.
No, I'm with you.
Like your 1st-round pick's not ready. He's not going to impact this year. So he wasn't worth that second 1st-round pick next year. Then Drew Brees could very well retire. At 40 years old, Drew Brees retiring is not a stretch of the imagination.
Yeah.
So picking up that second 1st-round pick when you might have a quarterback rotation of Tom Savage, Taysom Hill, and JT Barrett, not here any NFL team ever.
I understand that.
None of those quarterbacks are good.
I think the only way Brees retires this year would be if he gets injured or something like that, and that's where it would be the problem. If he stays healthy, I can see him at least staying one more year. But I was going to say with Davenport, I'm with you on that because the first thing I said was that I wouldn't put him as a full-time starter anyway. Me personally, if it were me, I would put him in certain packages and just bring him out there. Sometimes just to get the quarterback or just to do certain things that he does well at this point, and then just kind of develop as he goes along through the season and through the year as he gets better and better before he becomes a full-time starter. I wouldn't throw him out there. I would, at this point, if you can, keep Okafor out there, who played pretty solid, and then you just. But I also like the fact that they got enough bodies there now that can switch guys in and keep them fresh. So I think that you can see a lot of that happen too, which that'd be a big thing for him.
But the problem is when you lose a guy like Brees, who do you replace him with? And I honestly think you needed, even if Brees does come back next year.
Mm-hmm.
You still need that.
I know what you're saying. The 1st-round pick for that.
You still need that 1st-round pick. Let him learn from one of the top 10 quarterbacks of all time.
But I don't disagree with you on that at all.
And this is me, a Falcons fan.
I know.
Calling a Saints player one of the top 10 players at his position all time. Like Steve Young, Joe Montana, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Dan Marino.
Yeah.
Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers.
Right. Yeah, he's in there.
I'm trying to find another 3 for the top 10 that I would instantly go into my top 10, and I'm having a hard time.
Yeah, but I only thing I would say, I know what you're saying, that first round pick. I was just gonna say, if he does come there, I mean, if he does stay another year, and you do try to bring in another quarterback, you can't bring with the first round pick at this point, right? But you could, if you have to trade up, find a way to package some deals, package up something, and do something if you need to in a pinch next year. That could be a possibility. But I think with Payton, I think he's waiting to see if there's any quarterbacks that are going to come out. They're going to even come out next year that he will want, because that could be a possibility too. Because you got to think about it, with Payton, he's going to want a certain guy that he can work with.
I look at the trading the first round pick. I think long term it's going to bite the Saints in the butt. But I think short term, I think the Saints are basically in this. Let's try to win a Super Bowl in the next 2 years with Drew Brees before he does retire. And I think in that sense, if they do that, then it doesn't matter that they gave up a first round pick. If they don't, then when they're in the post Drew Brees world, having that first round pick is going to be very valuable, because presumably you're not going to have the same level of quarterback play after Drew Brees leaves. And so there's going to be a big dip in the position on the team. So then I think that's when you're going to miss that pick. And it's sort of similar with the Falcons when they traded up for Julio, which was short term, they got a huge boost to their offense. Long term, when some of the older players like Tony Gonzalez and Michael Turner and those guys left, they missed having that first round pick to really sort of be a foundational pick, and then went into a slump, and then it came out of it. And I think that's essentially, I guess, the Saints' plan. We'll see how it works out. I think Davenport could be a solid piece for them, but not necessarily a huge difference maker.
But another thing you can't think about too is free agency. In another year or two, what quarterback that might be who may be solid just to be a bridge for a couple of years to come in, and because if the team is pretty loaded and pretty solid, you can put it halfway. As long as you got an above average quarterback in there, you might be able to at least bridge it for a couple of years until you get a young kid in and grow them up from there too. So I mean, it's other options too.
The only other option that would actually scare me that the Saints could do is after this year, assuming that Teddy Bridgewater dips out of New York, is go out and sign Bridgewater, because Bridgewater in Peyton's scheme would be scary.
Yeah, I could agree with you. I like Bridgewater. I've always liked Teddy Bridgewater.
There was no reason for them to move on from Bridgewater.
I agree. I'm with you. But I mean, I've always liked the kid, and I have no problem. If they sign him up, I'd have no issues. I would feel comfortable with that.
Well, since we're talking about the Saints offense, let's talk about some of these draft picks, some of these offseason moves. Obviously, the big one is getting Tre'Quan Smith. I'm assuming they're sort of planning him to take over that Ted Ginn role as an outside stretch receiver, with Michael Thomas still being the number one guy. You got Cameron Meredith taking over in the slot when he comes back from his knee injury. And basically, I think that's a good fit for Tre'Quan Smith, because I really liked him as this big, fast, vertical stretch receiver that you put on the outside. I think he can do that. I think he has better hands than Ted Ginn. I think he's a little bit more physical than Ted Ginn. Obviously, very few human beings on this planet have the speed of Ted Ginn, even at his age. But I do think he can give you that sort of stretch receiver. And I think that's we've seen with Drew Brees, you can pretty much give him any wide receivers and they'll be good. Even guys that were pretty awful elsewhere. It was Robert Meacham was the guy that they had many years ago. I think that's basically what they envisioned Tre'Quan Smith being, is basically Robert Meacham, but potentially you would probably hope better. But I think that was a good pick for them.
I thought so too. I mean, myself, because I figured with Ginn he may last there a couple years, and then to a point they got to move on from him anyway. So it seems like to me that was having Tre'Quan Smith come in there is going to be a better long-term option in the future. And so it makes sense. And number two, they got to get better production out of the receivers. Last year, especially after losing Brandon Cooks, they lost like 25% of their production because Cooks wasn't there last year. And then you had, I think it was Michael Thomas, and then I think Ginn was about 500 yards less as far as the next closer receiver. And then after that, it was, Coleman, a couple other, Snead was nowhere.
Yeah.
So they didn't have much. I mean, they really came down to Kamara in the passing game. It was Kamara and Thomas, really, in all honesty, and Ginn every once in a while deep. So they had bringing in Cameron Meredith, I think, was part of it to kind of upgrade those positions and get this, get back.
Meredith isn't that much of a deep guy.
No, he's not a deep guy. He's going to be more your mid-level guy and that type of deal. I think that's where he's going to play at. He worked with Curtis Johnson, who's our receivers coach, back in Chicago, and his best year in Chicago was with Curtis Johnson. And I think so Johnson kind of vouched for him, I think, in that sense, and that's why he's in New Orleans. Yeah, he's not a deep guy, no. But neither is really.
I didn't think you brought in a deep guy all offseason, though. And that's kind of what. Not really, though.
Traquan can go deep.
He can go deep. But you
still have
more of that. He's more of that mid-range guy that takes it after the fact. He's more of your Brandon Coleman replacement than your actual deep guy.
Right.
Teddy Ginn's still your best deep threat outside of Michael Thomas.
Right at this point, and then they may still find another deep threat down the line anyway. I know what you're saying as far as going very long, but I think Traquan could do it because Traquan has some deep threat tendencies too himself. He has some talent there. He can do it.
Yeah.
I just don't see him burning defenses.
We'll see. I like Traquan. He was a guy I was sort of pining the Falcons to get maybe in round 3 or 4. Obviously, once they got Calvin Ridley, it was kind of moot at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
you got Ridley. It was I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't like that one. I love Ridley too because Ridley is a really good player. I mean, that's.
So you can tell who watched a lot of Calvin Ridley in college by the ones who go, I really liked Ridley. Ridley just kind of destroyed it out of him because the dude can run routes.
Yes, he can. Oh no, he can run. He can run good routes and not just long routes. He can run anything you want, and he can turn it into a big play. And it doesn't
what I would compare him to is I know it's a different sport, but it's like Allen Iverson.
Right.
Like, Allen Iverson wasn't the fastest or the biggest or the strongest or the anything. But when you watched him play, you were like, how the hell are his feet moving in that direction? And his body's going a different direction. The ball's somewhere else. It's like watching Allen Iverson with his own field. Wait, how did he just completely okey-doke break his ankles?
No, really can absolutely. He can definitely get open. He can run routes very well. I saw a lot of Calvin Ridley. Don't get me wrong, because I watch a lot of SEC football. So that I know that kid can go. So it's like oh shit, that's another number one for literally like 1A for Atlanta. I was like, oh, this is not going to be good.
Yeah,
so I wasn't celebrating that.
Yeah. I like King Crawl. I think, as I said, I think King Crawl is better than Scott gives him credit for, but I don't know if he's going to be the type of guy you want matching up on Calvin.
No, yeah.
I think that's why the Falcons got Ridley is
right.
You put Crawley on Ridley, it ain't fun. You put PJ Williams or Patrick Robinson on Sanu. Sanu's just going to box him out like he's Tony Gonzalez.
Right, because he's so big, right?
Because he's just so big compared to those 5'10" guys. Like, that's how he plays. So when you got a guy who plays like a tight end, has a little more speed, going against those guys, he's going to box them out.
And I guess the question comes down to what do Cameron Moore and Jamerson, what do they play a role in this? Maybe they're able to kind of match up with some of these guys a little bit.
Moore, I don't think Moore can match up with Calvin Ridley. I don't think Jamerson can either. I think you're one of those guys could match up with Sanu.
Sanu, right?
But I don't think any of them could do
that. It's a tough one.
So
you might be doing some really crazy things where you're shifting the coverage a little. You got to figure out some tricks or some way to kind of negate the speed or at least kind of keep up with the guy. I don't know. So that's going to be interesting to see how that goes.
Greg, I want to get your thoughts on Mark Ingram and his suspension. But I do want to wrap up the draft talk
Okay, sure.
by talking about these two offensive line picks. They took Rick Leonard. I heard a lot of people call that a reach, but I think given sort of the injuries that the Saints have had at the offensive tackle position, I think they sort of prioritize having a depth piece there. I think Leonard is probably a little too raw to really expect him to necessarily step in right away and have to play if Armstead and Ramczyk lose out. I think the Clapp pick is a good pick, though, because I do think they needed to get a young guy as an heir apparent to Max Unger. What were your thoughts on those two offensive line picks?
I didn't have a problem with them. Now with Leonard, I agree. Leonard probably that was a little high for him at 4. To be honest, I thought that was maybe a little bit high from what I gathered of the guy. But at the same time, I think they're looking at it as, like you said, somebody's going to develop. He's probably not going to be starting right off the bat anyway, or for all I know, he may be on the practice squad for all we know. For this year, because they picked up a bunch of other guys too. So I think they're just trying whatever they can on the offensive line to kind of get that depth, especially losing Senio Kelemete, who let's say it like this, he should be a starter, but not necessarily a starter for the Saints. Because Kelemete, I thought, played pretty well overall wherever they needed him. And
Kelemete is like Ben Garland. Let's be honest here. He shouldn't start, but he's a guy that if you need him to start a game or two in a pinch, he's going to do fine.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. He's not going to start for the Saints because he's not better than any other lineman there. But at the same time, if one of those linemen get hurt, he's a great guy to be able to plug into there, and he's still going to kind of hold the fort for you. And that's what he is. But I think he can probably go on another team and possibly start. But not with our offensive line.
It's funny because the Saints, they brought back Jermon Bushrod, so I imagine he's probably the front runner to be the swing tackle. They brought back Ben Watson. They brought back Patrick Robinson. It was an offseason of just basically getting all their players that they lost in like 2016, it seemed like.
Well, see, with Jamar Bushrod, myself personally, I don't even know if he's going to even make the team. I think he's there, but I don't know if he's there. I don't know if he's
play guard.
Possibly.
He was terrible as a guard in Miami, though. Like, I think they have to put him at tackle.
I think they're going to use him as that third guard, where if someone gets injured, he's playing guard.
I think Clapp is going to be that guy.
I think it's going to be Clapp, too. I got a feeling Clapp.
I think Clapp is going to be your backup center. That dude was probably your best value draft pick out there.
Right.
Because he's basically, and I know I might get a little shit for this. He's basically Todd
McClure
with more size.
Right. Well, no, but I thought
like 6'4", 311, and McClure was like 6'1", 285. But,
yeah. I'm with you there because I thought getting him at 7 and as a 7th-round pick was actually a pretty good steal. Because I thought that guy could have probably went earlier, a little earlier. Clapp, in my opinion. But anyway, I think that he'll be the backup center, but I think they might swing him between center and guard myself. I think they're going to do a little both and see if he can do both. At least in a pinch at this point. And then if Unger gets hurt or something like that, Clapp comes in and he's the center.
Yeah. So obviously, the suspension of Mark Ingram is going to play a significant part in that first matchup between the Falcons and Saints in week 3, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's week.
And I'm curious. I'm looking at the Saints depth chart. Obviously, Alvin Kamara is going to get a lot more of a workload over that first month. Last year they basically used him as their second wide receiver, as opposed to a true running back. But we'll see him get a little bit mixed on the ground. I'm curious. We talked a little bit about Boston Scott, but the guy that I'm looking at the depth chart that's intriguing to me is Jonathan Williams, who was a really highly touted guy coming out of Arkansas 2 years ago, then sort of fell by the wayside in Buffalo, wound up in Denver. I think the Saints scooped him up off the practice squad or something last year.
Right.
And I feel like if anybody's going to step up in that first month and really sort of take pressure off Kamauer to be the guy and have to carry the load both as a runner and a receiver, I do think it's going to be Jonathan Williams. I do think he has talent to do so because when the Bills cut him, I really wanted the Falcons to try to pick him up.
Yeah, I remember him from Arkansas as well. And he actually was a pretty good runner, which was kind of a shock that he hasn't really found anywhere. But also, I was looking at Trey Edmonds a little bit as well because I think Edmonds made a couple plays here and there when they did plug him in. So I think Evans has the possibility to be one of those guys that'll play at least a role there. Because I think with Boston Scott, you're not going to run him between the tackles. You're going to do more of the Kamara role or something like that. And I think even with Kamara, I think they're going to try to keep him from he's not going to play Ingram's role. I think he's going to end up being, like you said, Jonathan Williams or like Trey Edmonds are the two guys I'm looking at. I mean, you got Daniel Lasco there, but I don't know if Lasco is the guy you're going to look at as an over down back. Williams, I know, can be one. And I think Edmonds can be one. At least, even if you just put them in certain packages here and there. But I think what's going to happen is they're going to rely on the pass a lot more in those first 4 weeks than they are to run. And just kind of use the run as much as they need to, until Ingram's back.
I'm curious what your thoughts on that, because we really saw the Saints morph into a run-first team last year,
yeah.
And obviously it was very successful for them. Do you feel like going up? I don't know who else you guys played the first month of the season other than the Falcons, but do you feel?
I think who's the first guy? I forgot who the hell was the first game. I know Cleveland's like the second game of the season. They also have.
All right, so they get the Buccaneers, so scrubs. The Browns, so scrubs. The Falcons, good team. Then the Giants, scrubs.
Okay, so they're
gonna start 3-1.
They got a good break with the schedule.
They're gonna start 3-1 because I'm predicting the Saints to split the games with the Falcons. They're gonna lose in Atlanta, and they're gonna win at home.
I would not be shocked by that at all, because they're more likely to pretty much like the same thing that happened last year.
And I don't feel like that's being unfair to either team.
No, it's not. It's not at all. No.
Both team wins at home.
As much as we both would want to see our teams win both games, I could take a split, because I think the split you're going to have to, because I think with that whole division you could end up splitting a lot. You're going to be still a lot. I mean, Carolina could be a possible splits between both teams. It just so that's going to be a tough division. But I think Ingram being suspended in these first 4 games was a huge, was kind of a relief in a way, because you're right, their schedule is not as hard.
Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, I think the Giants could actually give the Saints a lot of trouble, but I think those first 2 games, I think that's the good thing about the schedule. Like, not to say the Bucs are pushovers, because all division games are tough.
Not at all.
But you can ease into the 2 tougher matchups that you have in that first month. The Browns aren't necessarily. I don't think they'll be as bad as they've been. But if you need tune-up games, you get a little extension of the preseason, a little bit, just a little bit.
Well, I look at Cleveland, because like you said, I mean, it's a lot more talent to that team now. I mean, they're trying to stack that team as much as they can, but it's still going to take some time to get that chemistry together. So catching them in the second game of the season is a hell of a lot better than trying to catch them maybe 10th, 11th in the season. 11th game, they may by then kind of get their chemistry going by that time.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with catching them early in the year compared to catching them later on in the season. That's where you may have a problem.
Yeah. Greg, I'm curious, sort of before we get out of here.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on sort of the Saints' chances of repeating as the NFC South champs? Do you feel like they are the team to beat in the NFC South? Do you feel like they've made strides in the areas that they needed to with the pass rush, with whatever they needed to do on offense? Or do you feel like this is a team that's, overachieved a little bit and might fall back down a little bit to earth, particularly on the defensive side of the ball, since we know, historically speaking, the Saints aren't known for sustaining great defensive success.
Their chances are 0. Their chances are 0. The division's too hard.
It's a tough. You're right. The division is extremely hard. The truth of the matter is that no lie, the Saints, the Falcons, and the Panthers can make a very strong case, on why they will be division champs, and you really can't argue with any of them in a sense. But at the same time, I think it's going to be a hard 3-way race, and I can very well see pretty much the teams very close. It was very close last year. It's going to be close this year. Am I confident that we're going to win it again? Yeah, I do. I do think we can do it. Will we do it? That's the question that remains to be seen. I think we will. I do think we will win it. I think we can edge it out. Even with the 4-game suspension of Mark Ingram, I think that we can edge this out. The whole key to me is I think staying healthy. That's the biggest thing for me.
See, this is going to be the one year where like one of the big quarterbacks in the NFC South goes down, and I hate to sound like an asshole, but I kind of hope it's Cam Newton. Like I know it probably sounds like a dick move, but I just get tired of people acting like Carolina can be a good team, and Cam Newton really props them up. He really does. Their offensive line is so shit at pass blocking.
Oh, don't get me wrong. Cam is the big difference there. Cam is hurt. That team is pretty much in dire straits.
That's a 4-12 team without Cam Newton.
I agree. I don't disagree with you there. The whole thing about it is that he generally stays pretty healthy. So that's the thing that's why you have to kind of still make that argument to me overall. But I mean, if he's not healthy,
a hell of a drug.
But yeah, if he stays healthy, if he doesn't stay healthy, if he gets hurt or something like that, and he's out, if he's out for like even a significant amount of time, 4 or 5 weeks, that could really derail any chance of him making the playoffs, much less the division. To me, because I mean, who Anderson is still the backup there with him?
Is Derek Anderson still in the league?
No, they didn't re-sign him for some reason.
Oh no! Garrett
Gilbert.
Oh,
yeah, okay. No, dude, they're a true team without Cam Newton.
No.
Yeah, Anderson at least gives him a shot because Anderson's actually pretty good, at least when he's played in Carolina.
But here's the thing: I feel the same way about the Saints' backup quarterbacks.
I agree.
You've got Tom Savage and Taysom Hill.
Yeah,
JT Barrett might as well move to running back.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. If Drew Brees gets hurt, yeah, it's going to be hard pressing at that point. It really is.
Oh yeah, y'all are a 2-14 team just because of Tom Savage. That dude sucks.
Oh no, hopefully he doesn't make the team for God's sake. I don't even want that.
Who's going to beat him? Taysom Hill's even worse.
No, that's not my point. I'd still rather have Taysom Hill before I even think about having Tom Savage.
I hate to say it, but the best backup quarterback in the NFC South belongs in Tampa Bay, and Ryan Fitzmagic.
I don't disagree with you there.
And then Matt
Shaw
is number 2.
Yeah, and Fitzpatrick is not very good. He sucks, and you're right. He's the best backup quarterback in the whole division. I mean, the truth of the matter, if all 3 of our quarterbacks went down, or if all 4 of our quarterbacks went down, that probably would be a terrible race. You might be going in with a 6-10 team or something.
No, I think the Falcons could at least be 9-7 with Matt Schaub as the quarterback.
I disagree.
I like Matt Schaub, Scott, but
I like Matt Schaub. I don't like Matt Schaub, but I think when you got the firepower Atlanta has,
what are you sniffing over?
Julio Jones, and you just got to throw that 5-yard slant to Julio all day.
What are you sniffing over there?
I'm just saying. I think. Don't get me wrong. Matt Ryan's like 3 billion times better than Schaub. But
Matt Schaub, are you kidding me?
Yeah, I think Schaub is underrated, but I don't think he's 9-7 underrated. I think he's 6-10 maybe underrated.
No, I'm saying I think the Falcons defense, I think the Falcons team as a whole could win 8 games if Matt Ryan went down.
But you guys still got to have a guy to throw the ball to Julio.
And Schaub's like that with one game.
Yeah, really, and he's not getting the ball to Ridley and Julio like that.
I mean, I think he could. He's had a couple years to let his arm kind of rest. He's played like 4 snaps.
I think if Schaub was to start for 3 or 4 games, you could realistically go 3-1 in those games or something like that, depending on the matchups. But once you get past 6, 7, 8 games, you're going to start to see his play decline over time. That's all I'll say. I'm fine with Schaub starting 4 games or whatever the case may be. But if he has to start more than that, then
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I got a feeling. Yeah, I think if you can get maybe a couple of games with your backup, you're okay. Can he hold us for at least 2 games, 3 games? Yeah. If he got to hold us for half a season or the full season, you're dead. You just get ready to start looking at the draft next year and figuring out who you're drafting, because it ain't gonna be.
Ed Oliver, here we come.
Yeah, it'll be a real high pick in the draft.
But here's the thing: if the Falcons get Ed Oliver and throw that on their D line with Jarrett and Tack and Vic, y'all are screwed.
We'll see. We'll see. I mean, I'm looking forward to the season. I definitely am because I am interested to see how this turns out for us.
Yeah, I think it's going to be once again, if not the best division in football, it'll be one of the best divisions in football. So
yeah.
It's going to come down to the wire, I think.
I think so too. I mean, last year was pretty much your nail biter for the whole season, and I think it's going to be that way this year. I do. If all teams stay healthy, yeah, it's going to be definitely going to be tough. In a dogfight, every game is going to count. It's just simple as that. You can't afford to lose anything.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's it. We didn't get really many mailbag questions this week.
So okay.
Just scanning through the chat to make sure I didn't miss anything. I think. Sorry about this, guys. No, this makes for great radio. As I scroll through something, okay, it's too much to read. I can't do it. Sorry, guys. I missed. If you send in the question, I missed it. Chat less, I guess. But no, Greg, we appreciate you coming on, and you guys let the people know if they want to talk trash about the Saints, or maybe if there's a Falcons fan secretly that respects the Saints and wants to praise them, where they can do so to you on Twitter.
And in TenseGB on Twitter. So yeah, you can always catch me there, and I'm always around. So yeah, feel free to hit me up anytime. Even with a tad bit of Falcon hate.
Well, Greg, we appreciate you coming on, guys. If you did want to send in your mailbag questions that we are basically not doing on this show, by all means do so on Twitter at the show's Twitter handle FalconsPFC. I'm at FalcFan. Scott is at Karasik S. Use the hashtag Falcons Mailbag. We will put something up on Facebook live later this week answering those questions. Scott did it the last time. Maybe I'll do it this time. So we'll definitely get to your questions. We'll be back in 2 weeks to talk about the Carolina Panthers and their offseason, wrapping up our NFC South series. That'll get us through middle June. We'll then figure out what we're going to do for the rest of the summer and let you guys know. But you definitely should follow us on Twitter and, of course, on Facebook, Falcon Central Radio. And, of course, check out the Pro Football Central YouTube page where you can subscribe to both of those things so you can make sure that you don't miss a second of our next show in 2 weeks. Until then, guys, we appreciate you guys tuning in and listening. And we'll be back in 2 weeks to talk more Falcons